Never really thought, let me start this over again. I never really thought that I would start off a show by saying, I got to come out here to start off and defend Caitlin Clark. But nevertheless, here we are. If you have not seen the clip today, there was a media member with the Indiana, I think, Fever. Forgive me if I don't know their mascot name. But that said some really creepy stuff to Caitlin Clark, like do this, like, oh, I bet I hope you do that to me more often. This is why people don't like some in media, because you dudes are out here horny as hell. Sorry. I just gotta. I mean, I don't think Caitlin Clark is she's not bad looking, but some of you dudes that are lonely and in media, y'all better do something else. Y'all too horny out here. We are live. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. I am your host, Blake Rufino. This is Are You Serious Sports. Hope all of you are making it a good one. We know that we are as well. Two more players, technically three, but two more players that have entered the transfer portal for LSU today: Connor Gilbreath and Khai Prean. We will talk about their departures. What does it mean? What, where are we at? What should we expect? More defensive tackles entering the transfer portal, but it looks like some other SEC foes are getting in the mix with them as well. We warned you that there would be some SEC teams that would be going after interior defensive linemen. We will touch on that as well. But don't fret, because I do think that Bo Davis and Brian Kelly and Blake Baker are all over it. Don't panic. You should be monitoring, though, which we all are, to see how LSU moves here. We will talk about that here tonight as well. Jay Johnson gives an update on his team. Jay seemed a little bit more upbeat today. Good for him. I think it felt like Jay was excited that he's out of this SEC weekend stretch. So let's see if they can go up to Como, get their first SEC win. We'll talk about that as well. We'll give it a recruiting update and hashtag Ask Blake at the end, because I did not get to it last night. So lots and lots of things that we got to get into. Do us a favor. Any part during the show, hitting the like and share. We greatly appreciate it every time you do that. Todd Davis says, go Tigers, and that the Yankees win. Yes, in the top of the ninth, the Yankees were about to get swept, and Aaron Judge hits a single down the third base line that scored two with the bases loaded. See, that is how clutch players are able to do things for you with the bases loaded and for you to win baseball games. Just ask Aaron Judge today that they did do. David Woodard said, Caitlin Clark is a 5 in my book. I'm not going to go there, man, because I'm not going to go there. When you can ball that hard, how do I want to say this without people pausing me? When you're that good of an athlete, your points go up for me. Just saying, man. The points go up. Yes, indeed. Dane Bergeron says, good evening, Blake. Good evening to you. Good sir. Humbug says, we're back for another one. I'm gonna be careful. I think that his for another one might be some play on words here that regards LSU. But I'm gonna leave that one alone just in case that it's not. Anthony B. Saint says the wide receiver is just deep, or maybe meaning the wide receiver room is just deep in for Prean to stay. I do agree with that. And look, we'll talk about it. Not to fret, not to worry. I like Khai Prean. I think Khai Prean has done better things than some, right? Like I think that he has done better than some wide receivers that are in that room. I do think that, there are some rumblings that he's going to stay inside the state, and he has a do not contact on there, which when players do that, man, listen, players, don't put a do not contact on there. I know that people are going to reach out to you. Stop putting it on there. You're making tampering too obvious, which, by the way, guys, I'm just going to be real with you. It's tampering. It solves an LSU problem, so you don't really get mad about it, and the kid's not a player. It's tampering. When you have a do not contact, it is tampering. Bottom line, which is kind of what I wanted to start off with here tonight and will. Because that's what my Rufino's rant is going to be about. So the NCAA made a thing today where, in case you missed it, where they're making it legal for their bylaws that players can transfer as many times as they want with no guidelines unless they're not academically eligible. It's a joke. They're saving face. See, what happens is when the NCAA does something like that, the national media is like, yeah, that's already passed. It's not already passed. They're not changing anything. They're not trying to progress anything forward. You could have changed the bylaw and not tell anybody. It wouldn't have mattered. You already lost in court. Players have been for over 7 weeks now, been able to transfer multiple times, or even longer than that. Since Jalen Cook came back and started playing on this basketball team, so was it now 4 months actually? That is when the two-time transfer rule got lifted. What took you 4 months? I'm so worried about this sport, man. I'm so worried about this sport. I think you have dumbasses running college athletics. I do. We put some of these guys and people and coaches on pedestals. Some of them are buffoons. Idiots. Maybe we should give some of them a Wonderlic test or whatever it's called. Test their football IQ. See what they'd score. I bet you they wouldn't score. Well, Tua Tagovailoa got a 13 on his, so maybe some quarterbacks that were in Heisman Trophy races. But nevertheless, the reason I remember that is because it came up in my memories today that Tua Tagovailoa got a 13 on the Wonderlic test. It's not like it really mattered, right? Because Jake Fromm got the highest score, beating Joe Burrow by 1 single digit. Cole Adams says, I'm kind of surprised that Shelton Sampson didn't hit the portal. Can't come through when the lights came on. Well, listen, I'm just going to remind you, technically, he's still got 13 days. Guys, this isn't over for 2 weeks. So, yeah. Cole Adams also says, Blake, can Greg Penn be fixed? What do you mean by can he be fixed? That spring game was horrible. Secondly, only to Ryan. I don't think. I mean, Greg missed a bad tackle. I wouldn't say that he did horrible. I surely don't believe he's your second worst player defensively. That's for damn sure. So yeah. Anthony B. Saint says Sampson is a sophomore. He's still learning. I got to be real with you. How much learning does it take? I do think that there are different rules and regulations and expectations that you have to expect from a 5-star than most. I would agree with you if I had been seeing him making some plays. Guys, I have not, even at practice, I haven't been seeing him do anything special. I'm just being honest. So, learning what? If the kid wants to play big-time SEC football, he's going to have to start picking up. He's got to have a massive offseason. He's got to put his head down, get to work, screw the other stuff. Henry Adams says this poop emoji has got to get fixed. Which part? LSU Hyper Ninja 9 on YouTube with the I always forget the guy from Pokemon's name. Ash? Is it Ash? Got a Pokemon avatar. God, I catch 'em all. I would assume that LSU Hyper Ninja number 9 had that app. Remember about a decade ago when you had the app and you could drive around and go catch Pokemons? Not me. I never had that app going around catching Pokemons. Ever. I'm not a Pokemon catcher. I am a catcher of something that I'm not going to start to show off with that. I'm a happily married man. But you know what I was going to say? Your boy used to be a catcher of something else that started with the letter P. Hey-oh. All right. Don't be nasty up in here, Blake. You nasty. Todd Davis says Kevin Durant couldn't do one rep of 185 for the bench press at basketball combine. Just saying. Yeah, but what I'll start to show off today about, and look, I don't, this whole thing that the NCAA is doing, everybody's like, oh, well, when we fix it this way, when we fix college football that way, what are y'all watching? I'd love to know when y'all think a collective bargaining agreement was going to happen. I would love to know when y'all would expect different. 2 years, things are going to change. And it's going to make the sport better. How? They want to go and do models for college football like European soccer. That's the stupidest shit I've ever heard. There's a reason that 95% of Americans don't watch European soccer. They don't like the model. They don't care about it. Stop changing. You don't have to change things. Go to the conferences. Say, hey, we want a collective bargaining agreement. Here are our rules. Do you agree? Do you comply? Can we come together to fix this out? Hey, can we come together when you join a school in a conference? You got to be there 2 years before you transfer. Can we all sign this document? Saying that, hey, if you want to play here, these are your guidelines to play here. Get it passed through legislation. Fix it. But it's going to be a decade before. And somebody's going to sue the shit out of every. I don't even. And, here's another thing, because people have been asking, oh, Blake, this player from the SEC hit the portal today. Guys, he's not coming here. Now, that doesn't mean that I don't think he couldn't. I mean, if the SEC got sued right now and open federal court about transferring in conference, that shit would be thrown out so fast. The SEC and Greg Sankey would have their head spin around so quick. It'd be like a top on a water bottle. There's no progression in this sport whatsoever. None. All right. Our good friend, Chris Phillips from SEC Unfiltered. Y'all go over to YouTube and subscribe. Him, Blaine, and Cole, I believe, Cole Thompson, and the boys always putting out great content. I'm sorry. But Adam, with the comment of the night, he says, catching some squirtles. Oh, I was catching. Oh, man, this show's already unhinged. Adam. Squirtles. Yeah. Some squirting, all right. All right. All right. SEC Unfiltered, a.k.a. Chris Phillips, says, who sold their soul last year for last year's national championship in baseball? The entire state. Now, look, we talked about this last night. If LSU and a team like LSU, more than anybody, has got to get to that 13-win mark. Basically, they got to win every series from here on out. Or if they lose one, they got to sweep one. It's going to be hard to do. Hard to do. All right, a couple more. Henry Edwards says, change the portal rules. Exactly. But see, here's the thing. I don't know how you do. The only way that you can is if everybody agrees to a collective bargaining agreement, but I don't think that they will. I don't think that they will. All right, one more. Bart Boy 878 with one of the best avatars I've ever seen, with the Burrow saying stunt on these hoes, says, which players do you think LSU sends to SEC Media Days? Oh, man, that's so far. Well, I guess it's not really that far away. I would say Josh Williams, I'd say Garrett Nussmeier, and I would say Greg Penn. And if they don't send Garrett Nussmeier, maybe Will Campbell. It would be cool if they sent Will Campbell, Emory Jones, and Josh Williams. That might be it. I don't know. Never really bothers me on who they bring and who they send. All right, let's get rolling. Everybody do us a favor by hitting the like and share. Share all of those social media groups. Share all of those social media pages. You're watching us, listening to us on YouTube. Like, subscribe, notification bell, wherever you are listening to the podcast. Rate, review, and subscribe. Got a lot we got to talk about. Couple players hitting the portal, LSU baseball, recruiting. We talk about it all. Transfer portal. Is LSU attacking anybody in the portal right now? We talk about that next. Stay with us. BetOnline is the fastest and easiest way for you to wager on all of your favorite sports, contests, events with the first-to-market odds and lines. Find reviews for all the news for each league, including Major League Baseball, NFL, NBA, NHL, combat sports, college sports, esports, and even golf. BetOnline continues to be the top online resource for all of your sports information for live in-game betting, props, and futures. Head on over to BetOnline today and use your mobile device to join and make your first sports bet. Use our promo code BELIEVE50, that's BELIEVE50, BLEAV 50, to receive your 50% off welcome bonus on your first deposit. That's betonline.ag, betonline.ag.
He will sell your house and find you a new. Well, Tyler's the man, he's here for you. If you want to buy or sell, well, it's not too late. Dial 955-0008. Just call 955-0008. Y'all call Tyler, he'll shoot you straight.
Louisiana is unique. The food, the festivals, even the bugs. No, not mud bugs. Unwanted bugs like these. The ones you don't want crawling in your home or business. Trust the Shield from J&J Exterminating. We've been protecting Louisiana homes for over 50 years, earning the trust of our clients because we deliver what we promise. Protect your home from pests. Get the Shield from J&J Exterminating.
J&J Exterminating. Yeah.
We're back. All right. Let's get this thing rolling, y'all. Andrew Paulso Martin says collective bargaining agreements in college sports will eventually affect tuition and donors. I agree. He said, in which it will come the worst case of biting the hand that feeds you he's ever seen in history. So let's talk about this very quickly. I do agree with that. But if that's what I don't know how else you fix it. I legitimately don't. Maybe everything else stays the same, but you got to fall under, like some kind of NIL guidelines, which isn't going to change anything. And maybe you get rid of collectives. But look, I don't know, Paul Sub. I really don't, because nobody is going to agree on anything. I don't know a solution. Let me start off with this before we get to some LSU, because in theory, it does affect LSU. Today, the NCAA came out with a statement and saying that they had passed the ruling in their bylaw where people or players and college athletes can transfer without any limitations on them. That coming after 4 months ago in a federal court case in West Virginia that the NCAA got denied that players, or they could not limit players from being eligible when they transfer more than one time. Now, I know a lot of people feel that this should have already happened, and I know people don't like the transfer portal for these exact reasons. There are two schools of thought in reference to if you like the portal or not. If it's helping your team, like LSU getting 2 Heisman Trophy winners from the transfer portal, or getting a guy like Paul Skeens and Tommy Tanks from the transfer portal, Angel Reese from the transfer portal, you love it. But I gotta say this. The NCAA passing this bylaw today means absolutely nothing, and it's a waste of everybody's time. When you could have just changed the bylaw and not made an announcement, or made an announcement but not make it a big deal and get everybody in the media talking about it and breaking this news, it doesn't matter. So what? It was in your bylaw. Well, sure, you had to change it because it wasn't a part of amateur, or it can't be a part of it anymore because amateurism is not really a thing anymore. But it was never going to be the case. Everybody was going to be eligible. If you're academically eligible, guys, the truth is, if you are, you can transfer 4 times. Not a damn thing that they can do about it. And with the way that college athletics is set up right now, you shouldn't be able to do anything about it because you're not limiting other people and other college students from doing so. Guys, I don't mind the portal. I don't mind people leaving and getting out of situations, but the portal has opened something even worse because of how you can pay players and NIL and all that. The portal alone is not a problem. It's what comes along with it. Now, the portal changes sports faster than anything because of how coaches enact it. But coaches around college athletics are the most hypocritical human beings when they say the following: we have to do something about the transfer portal. It's getting too crazy. But then some of the big-time recruiters will say that one week and then the next week spend $200,000, $300,000, $400,000 in NIL money to go get a guy that they really need and transform their roster. I do think that Ole Miss is a prime example of doing that this past year. Guys, how do you think that they got all of those dudes? I can tell you it wasn't because they were having really good Bible studies at the BCM. Now, if you don't know what the BCM is, Baptist College Ministry, but at least that's what it was called when I was in college, was the BCM. It's not that they're having great Bible studies at Ole Miss and that's why they're going there. The cocaine's not wider in Ole Miss. Well, maybe it is, than it is anywhere else. Guys, they paid players to go there, and that's why they are there. But it's another day that we continue to circle around the wagon when it comes to what needs to be done in college athletics. I'm going to tell you, I have zero faith that anybody knows what the hell they're doing. I have no faith in Greg Sankey in reference to Fictionen. I have no faith in Tony Petitti, Charlie Baker, nobody. I actually agree with LSU head coach Brian Kelly. We need one centric voice. We need to come up with a solution. And basically what Brian Kelly called for was a commissioner. 1,000% agree with it. And we need to go in the right direction. Well, there was a guy that just retired a couple of years ago who could be your commissioner. Now, he'd probably favor Alabama, but that's neither here nor there at the current moment. But I'm tired of having these conversations. I'm tired of there not being solutions being brought up. Why isn't Charlie Baker meeting with the SEC and Big Ten commissioners? Why? Why isn't there a meeting by the three most powerful people in college athletics when it comes to sports? Why aren't they constantly in a room? You know, let me tell you one thing. If it were me, if I were a college commissioner, this is what I do day one. I've been asked this 1,000 times. Other than going after teams for tampering, this is what I do. I would sit down, call Greg Sankey, tell him to be at my office at 12 p.m. Central Standard Time. I would call Tony Petitti and tell him the same exact thing. I would tell Charlie Baker to do the same exact thing. Be at my office at 12 p.m. Central Standard Time. We're about to fix some shit. And we'll go around and around we'll go. I'm not calling the other Rudy Poo commissioners. I don't need them. I need those three. We would go over tampering. We would go over NIL and what we can and can't do. We would go over recruiting, our recruiting windows and portal windows, and when you can commit and sign with a school, how you can get out of that LOI. We would go through it all, and we wouldn't leave that damn room until we came up with a solution. And what we would do at the end of all of it is we would go and see what the presidents thought, see what the universities thought, get some impact, maybe change some rules, and then we would come up with a solution. If you want to play in the SEC, if you want to play in the Big Ten, these are the guidelines. And if you don't want to abide by them, go somewhere else. Well, Blake, then players won't go to the Big Ten and the SEC. Yeah, they will. You know why? Because those schools and those conferences are paying the most money to go there. The teams in the Big 12 aren't going to do anything about it. The ACC's falling apart quicker than a 16-year-old girlfriend that just got her heart broken by her boyfriend who was cheating with her best friend. Shattered all over the place is what the ACC is. You got to come up with solutions. But until our solution today, you can transfer as many times as you want to. but we got to fix the portal. Charlie Baker, you're talking out of both sides of your mouth. Change the damn bylaw. Don't say anything about it because you, not really him, it's not Charlie Baker's fault, but you as an institution lost in open court because you did not have the attorneys that could go to war for you. It is a flat out Rudy Poo of a joke. Then they come up with this Rudy Poo-ass model, basically turning college football into European soccer. I would throw and it might be, there might be a day where that happens. And the day that happens, I'm going to come on this show and say, it's over. Everything that you knew is over. You don't need to change or move away from conferences. You don't need to do away with some of the realignment because, quite honestly, it's going to happen anyway. The teams that make them are conferences that make the most money. It's not all ESPN doing it. I don't, you got to come up with solutions. You got to come up with solutions. I don't know what to do anymore. I don't know what to say. The sport that I love most is dwindling in front of my eyes. And I hate every second of it. You got a lifelong politician to run college athletics. The man likes to play tennis. He has never put his hand in the dirt as a three tech and did a dip and rip on the outside of the guard to try to get to a quarterback. He's never had to block a guy 300 plus pounds on a board drill and try to push him. He's never caught a one-hander in the back of the end zone. He's never been a coach. He doesn't understand what it takes to be the man. He's the man right now because they needed him to go up to Congress. And he has done a shitty job. Let me tell you why he's also done a shitty job. Because he's fighting an uphill battle. Because let me tell you one thing that I know, and I know for a fact. These coaches talk all the live long day. We hate NIL, or we don't like the way that NIL and the portal has been enacted. You lying Rudy Poos. I know you're lying. And even if I didn't talk to some coaches in college, their actions speak louder than words ever could. Oh, we got to change things. But meanwhile, our school's going after multiple defensive tackles. Guys, there's going to be some that they have had in the boat for a while, and we just don't know about it right now. But yeah. I don't know anymore, man. I don't know anymore. I tell you, I've been watching Major League Baseball a lot more too. It's crazy how this world works. All right, we got to get to some LSU stuff. We're already 30 minutes into the show. How about that? All right, let's get to it. Khai Prean and Connor Gilbreath, along with Ryan Robinson, but was not a scholarship player, entered the transfer portal. So now, and if I'm not mistaken, and I will be corrected because I assumed that Connor Gilbreath will be a part of the two. Now, Ryan Robinson isn't. Somebody sent me a clip earlier today. Somebody used Ryan Robinson as somebody who was on scholarship. To my knowledge, and I asked staff, he was not. Regardless, LSU is dwindling down when it comes to getting to the 85 scholarship limit. Guys, there's going to be 2 or 3 more guys that are going to have to hit the portal. And I don't know where they're coming from. I could assume, I think safety, I think corner could be another one to go get you some of these defensive tackles that are entering the portal. And then you're going to be pretty much about set. I do think you need another corner. But I do think, and have talked to some, that there might be some in-house fighting when it comes to some of the needs that they have. And there's not really an agreement. I told you the other night, too, or 2 days ago, that I did not think that LSU could. I don't know if they would want to take on a Carmani McClain after the Denver Harris thing, but I will tell you, I do think that they'll kick the tires on it. I don't think the kid's coming here, but they will kick the tires on it. I know that they will kick the tires on it for a fact. For a 100% fact, they're going to kick the tires on it. Might not generate any buzz. I do think you need another corner. If you're not going to go get Greedy Vance, which I do think that could give you some experience depth, then you got a couple more players that you got to let go here and get into the portal so that you can go get some DTs. And other than that, you're probably going to be pretty much set if you're LSU going into the 2024 season. If there is a case that arises that warrants it, then you're going to have to make some adjustments. Like, let me give an example. If a bona fide safety, a big-time bona fide safety that can transfer here, I'd go after him. 100%. I wouldn't think about it, wouldn't blink, wouldn't even cross my mind. I don't think you need an edge. I don't know if you need a linebacker, but if there was a bona fide linebacker that you know that could play here, I'd go after him. And do some creative things with Harold Perkins now that you got a dude in the middle that can play. There are so many things I would do. Bottom line is, you are seeing some of these guys coming out. TCU had a guy that came out today who's going to be at Oklahoma this weekend in Texas. Oklahoma and Texas are already fighting over him. It just shows how many teams in the SEC believe that they need an interior defensive tackle, and you're one of them. And here's the bottom line truth. You're going to have to back up a Brinks truck for one of them, if not two of them, to get them here, depending on where you think that you're going. Now, I do think that there's going to be guys that you would want, like Carmani McClain, like we talked about last night. I know, I'll say this. I know for an outright fact they will kick the tires on it. Do I believe that they will get him or go after him hard? No, I do not. But I'm telling you with all certainty they will kick the tires on it. It's the bottom line. And they should. I think the kid's too toxic to play here anyway. But in reference to Khai Prean, I think the young man is very talented. I think he'll go to a G5 program and do some really good things. I think he's athletic. I think he's got quickness and range. I do think guys like, for an example, I think he outperformed in the last 18 months more than a Shelton Sampson did. Khai Prean made more plays in practice that I saw, even in spring games, than I saw than Shelton Sampson. So I do think a G5 team is going to get a really good wide receiver. Let's see what Gilbreath does. Does he go up to Notre Dame with Mike Denbrock? Is this Mike Denbrock's little project that he wants to work on? I don't know. But you're getting to that 85. And I don't see a running back in the portal that's in there right now that you would probably take. I do think that there could be, depending on how you would get them here, but right now it seems like they're only going after DT. I don't agree with it. I think you need a punter. I think you need a punter. So we'll see. LSU has not made massive pushes, but I do think starting tomorrow you'll start seeing more stuff than maybe you originally thought. I think if you pay close attention enough, you'll start seeing it. And I still think that LSU and Brian Kelly, for what it's worth, getting to a recruiting update very quickly, they're continuously attacking it through high school recruiting. There's bona fide wide receivers like Khalid Lockett and Jacorian Moore that's already committed. They have gotten that wide receiver room and are continuing to get that wide receiver room on lock. Bryce Underwood, that they're going to continue to attack it and develop through high school recruiting, and I don't blame them. Going to have to get some defensive tackles in this class, and I think that they're on it, but they're going to have to land on one before you start feeling better about what's going on there. I don't think Dominic McKinley's not enough. It will never be enough. So I do think that you are doing some really good things in high school recruiting. I do think no matter what happens, I think you will have a top 3 class, and on it goes. And you continue to build and develop through high school, and it's going to continue to make you better and better and better and better. Because that is how you have to do 90 to 95% of your roster. And then when you have a bona fide guy that you can go and get him. Go and get him. So, yeah. It stinks when people hit the portal, man. It really, really, really does. I don't like seeing kids having to hit the portal from here, especially this is what I hate. This is what I hate the most, really, is when a kid that's in the portal that came out for your program every single night and gave you everything that they had, or every single day and gave you everything they had. I think both of those young men that went in the portal today did that. All three of them, really. Khai Prean probably the most. And that's the part that sucks, is what would the kid have been if he could have stayed here more and developed? But the room that he's in is just so deep. It's tough. It's tough. And you got bigger needs than receiver. Now, here is what is the most interesting thing to me, and what I think that you're pretty much done on. Now, you've had 2 defensive guys into the portal, but 2 scholarship guys from an offensive side hit the portal. I don't know where else maybe on this offense that somebody would transfer other than maybe receiver. Maybe you have a receiver that enters the portal. But I think you're pretty much done there. I think the next couple of guys that you see hit the portal, assuming, are going to be on the offensive side of the football. I mean, on the defensive side of the football, excuse me. I just don't know where else they turn. And I do think, like we talked about last night, or yesterday, I should say, I do think that, and we mentioned this, like openly mentioned this yesterday, goes back to our point in reference to what they think about Shelton Sampson. I mean, Cortez talking about it, Brian Kelly bringing him up about it, Joe Sloan talking about him. I think that they want to keep him here. I hope he doesn't enter the portal. I know that that's a lot of people's questions. But I think some defensive guys are on the chopping block to get some other DTs in here. And also a very unfortunate. I'm going to think that this is Cody or Cole, or I forget whoever this is. I apologize. But every time I see this name, I get flashbacks. Bullfrog, Gilbert and Matthews also have chemistry. Make that happen and get Greedy Vance, and we'd have a no-fly zone. I don't agree with that, Bullfrog. I don't agree with that. I do think that they have chemistry, but I don't think it's a no-fly zone, because then it would have been no-fly zone at A&M, and it was a fly zone. It was so much a fly zone at Texas A&M last year in the secondary that Tom Cruise started smiling. Some of you won't get that reference because you've never seen Top Gun, or Top Gun 2, for that matter. You're not going to get Jacoby Matthews. If Jacoby Matthews were to, how do I want to say this? If Jacoby Matthews were to transfer in the SEC, it would not be to LSU. I think it'd be to Ole Miss. I do think that the tires got kicked on them getting an appeal for him at Ole Miss. So I would not expect him to file that appeal. I think the kid just wants to play one more year and go to the league. That's what I really think. We're not getting Jacoby Matthews. All right, let's get to some more of your comments. Marvin Mackey Jr. says, Blake, I do not want to sound crazy, but I need to be sitting in these elite DT's house. LSU needs you. They don't need me. You know what? If you want me to go recruit, give me $500,000 of walking around money. You know, and you understand what I'm saying, calling walking around money. I'll have you 2 DTs here by tomorrow morning. I need $500,000. And I need $100,000 signing bonus for myself. I get him here and close it down tonight. We do a press conference in the morning on AYS. Oh, shit. You know, you could do it if you just send in a super chat. If you send in a super chat, no telling where that goes to. C King says LSU has to knock the DL position out of the park in the portal. I 1,000% agree with this. 1,000% agree with this. Because, listen, I understand what everybody says in reference to. So let me add on to C King's point here because so true. Here's what just my belief on this. A lot of people say, Blake, it's just a spring game. How much can you take from a spring game? You are correct. It is just a spring game. I spent 2 of my Saturdays watching them scrimmage in the last month. With that being said, how many times are we going to say it's just a spring game with the defensive tackles and the defensive line versus us seeing 3 times in scrimmage-like situations for them to get them cheeks clapped? How many times? Guys, there were multiple times, more than multiple times. I could name literally 10 times in 3 scrimmages where either Josh Williams or Caleb Jackson took one to the hizzy and wasn't touched. So when I came out here 2 weeks ago after that scrimmage and I said to you, literally from the practice notebook, guys, it's right here. We go through this shit all freaking day. This is what I go through. Okay. That there had been at least 10 times that I had seen backs get untouched. And then you saw it in the spring game twice. Did you really think that we were lying to you? No. I was not. You got to. You have to. You must. You cannot miss in the portal at DT. You can't. Now, this is unfair to this kid that I'm about to talk about because I don't think that it's fair because I don't know how ready he's going to be. Dominic McKinley is not going to be our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ in year 1. Now, can the kid develop, get better, and be an all-time SEC guy, all-time LSU guy? Maybe. Maybe he can. But as of right now, if you're expecting him to come in here and light everything on fire and fix all your problems and anoint him some kind of Jesus Christ Almighty, it's not fair. And it's just not going to happen. The kid's probably going to make some really good plays next year. Probably will. But he's not going to be ready. And you can't expect any freshman. You can't rely on any freshman to bail you out in that situation. It's not right to anybody. I mean, guys, there's going to be weeks where Dominic McKinley's going against six-year guys. So, yeah. Ryan with a $2 super chat says, don't have $500K, but I got $2 whole. There you go. There you go. Thank you for the super chat. It just depends on how much do you want 2 interior defensive tackles right now. If you wanted them, you'd send in $500,000 to the YouTube channel. That's what you do. Because I did y'all see that pterodactyl just fly through here? Good God Almighty. Bullfrog says, who you got your eyes on, Blake? Which 2 tackles? All right, I got it right here. Hold on. Got them right here in the handy-dandy notebook. Let me pull up their stats, too. All right. So there are a couple of defensive tackles, clearly, that I think everybody is looking at. Now, I do think that this kid from Louisville, the linebacker, Jalen Alderman, can play. I don't know if he's going to go to Florida State. I don't know the dynamic there, but I do think that Alderman kid from Louisville can play. Look, the 2. Let's start off with the big one that happened today in TCU's Dominic Williams. Just going to read off his stats here. He had 60 tackles, 9.5 tackles for loss, and 4.5 sacks in his time at TCU. He was a freshman All-American 2 years ago, and last year was a first-team that's a SEC, was an all-freshman Big 12 guy 2 years ago, and last year was a first team as a sophomore, was a first team Big 12 defensive tackle. He is going to be at Oklahoma. He's going to be at Texas. You got to get in the mix for him. Because, guys, I know the Big 12, and you could say, well, Blake, they're not a great conference. Yeah, well, he did some really good things against Texas and TCU. Texas and Oklahoma, that is why he was a first-team defensive tackle. That would probably be the biggest one, and probably is the biggest one right now as well. Also, speaking about Louisville, they had a defensive lineman, Jermaine Lull, that entered the portal. He has 141 total tackles in his career, 12.5 sacks, 25 tackles for loss in 4 seasons. So, the production isn't massively there, but he will give you more production than any defensive tackle that you have. But he's also going to be taking a visit to Oklahoma for the spring game. We'll have to see how that one plays out as well. CJ West from Kent State is another one that I'm looking at, probably a prolific nose tackle that you can plug and play and that will definitely just eat up blocks for you in some double teams. I wouldn't mind CJ West. I know that in draft circles, they believe that he'll be around a late first, early second round pick. Guys, he's going to be better than what you have right now. So those would be the 3 that I would circle when it comes to the defensive tackle room. Bo Davis knows what he's doing. He needs to go tackle him and get 2 of them. Now, you bring in Gio Paez. I think Gio Paez is a plug-and-play guy. He's not a starter, but he'd be a starter right now for you. A rotational piece, a backup at Wisconsin would be your starter right now. Let me say that again. If you think the position is bad, Gio Paez will start for you right now. Guys, Kimo Makanole moved from offensive tackle and was taking first-team reps. Speaking of Kimo, a little surprised that he hasn't entered the portal. That could come tomorrow. I'm not surprised that he hadn't. But you're so thin at that position, and not only that, God forbid you miss on defensive tackles in the portal, you got to have Kimo. You can't run away from Kimo. You can't tell him to hit the portal. Because God forbid, what if you did miss and you don't get any? Then you're in trouble. Then the kid's really going to have to play. And we're really going to need that kid to have a massive offseason. Stick him up with some of them steroids. Give him some HGH. Give him some of that, what is it called? Winstraw? I think Winstraw is the one that gets you skinny, isn't it? David says, how did the defense get so bad? How did things go so south? Well, a couple of things. Number one, I do think that Brian Kelly overperformed in year 1, especially when it got to the place where Jamar Cain was able to get Mekhi Wingo because of Robert Steeples, and you had decent defensive line depth. But because of the in-and-out position with Jamar Cain leaving, Jimmy Lindsey falling ill and not being there, and John Jancic having to get everything and put it duct tape around it and it not working. And now that you got Bo Davis, the issue really and truthfully is you just haven't had a D-line coach that's been here long enough. And I think Matt House ran off, and the issues that he had with Jamar Cain was a massive issue. And that's why that position has gotten so bad. Here's what I'll say in response to that, though. That's not an excuse. Let me tell you why that's not an excuse. You still have a head coach. And it's the head coach's responsibility when you have issues at a position group that you take it over. Let me give an example. Ed Orgeron going and getting Burrow at quarterback. He did not leave that to Insminger. He did not leave that to Joe Brady. He didn't leave that to, Joe Brady wasn't here when that happened. He didn't leave it up to Coach Sullivan. He didn't leave it up to anybody. He went after it. So, bottom line is, Brian Kelly probably should have stood up a little bit. Now, I think he thought that he'd get Dominic McKinley, and I really do believe that Brian Kelly thought that Mason Smith and Mekhi Wingo would return. In my bones, I believe he thought that. I haven't necessarily been taught that. And look, there's been a lot of chatter in reference to Mason Smith, entering because he didn't, the fan base had gotten to him. Guys, I mean, I get it to Mason's point. People talk all kinds of crazy shit about me daily. Sometimes you gotta let that shit run off your back. These people don't know you. You're not identified by what your play is on the field. I thought, and some of you aren't gonna like this because it's religious, but I do think that the Scotty Scheffler thing that he said after winning the Masters, if in case you missed it, Scotty Scheffler won the Masters, won in Augusta. And got his green jacket. Scotty Scheffler in a post golf or just a press conference, I guess, said, he was sitting with his buddies and he told them, man, I want to win so bad. I want to win so bad. And his friend saying, like, hey man, your identity is found in Christ. I'm not saying you got to be religious, and I'm not pushing my religion off on you or anything like that. But you got to find something that can take it off. Mine is my kids, man. I mean, Jesus and the Lord too. Don't get me wrong. Mine is my kids. Because I know one thing. When all else fails, those two little kids are still going to love me. As much as I love them. And I would give my life for them. Like any parent would. I love those kids more than I want air. But I know one thing is for certain. You got to find your way to cope with this kind of stuff. That's another thing we don't teach kids. Anyway, Bullfrog said he'd be cool with Williams and CJ West. That should fix the interior defensive line. Let me end this because I gotta get to a commercial break here in just a second too. I got to say this. Guys, it's not going to be easy to get them here. It is not going to be easy to get CJ West here. It's not going to be easy to get Williams. It's not going to be easy to get any of them here. Here's the God's honest truth. You better go spend your money. Look, I cannot emphasize that enough. I'm trying to think of you know what? Let me tell you what you got to spend. Lil Wayne came out with a song in 2008. You know how much money you need to go spend and get some DTs in here? A milli. And find a way. Because let me tell you something. I believe this in my bones. You're a pair of DTs, quality DTs, not some Rudy Poos. You are two quality defensive linemen away from being a playoff team. If you do not get that, you will not make the playoffs. Go full Lil Wayne on them. A milli. By the way, there's a law being passed on either June the 1st or July the 1st that is going to give the schools in Louisiana access to pay players NIL and search for third parties to do it. And better find a way, man. Better find a way. All right. Let me get to a quick break. Stay with us. Got some more LSU stuff we need to talk about. Need to talk about baseball. We'll do that really quickly when we come back. Stay with us. Guys, you might know my good friend Carol Falls and all the great service that he provides over at State Farm. He is your good neighbor after all. But did you know State Farm has surprisingly great rates as well? Along with the great neighbor service, State Farm agent Carol Falls has surprisingly great rates for everyone inside the state of Louisiana. So call him today at 985-395-4300, 985-395-4300 for all of those surprisingly great rates on auto, home, and life insurance needs. Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there, and individual premiums will vary by customer. All applicants subject to the State Farm underwriting requirements. By the Drake Williams Law Firm, drakewilliamslawfirm.com. Whether you've been injured in an accident, you're preparing for a future with your estate planning, you're getting ready to close in on a real estate deal, or you're about to welcome a new addition through adoption into your family, or you're facing criminal charges, you need very experienced attorneys, and that is what the Drake Williams Law Firm will be able to do for you in navigating the legal system. The door to their cozy office in historic downtown Ponchatoula has been open since 1981. They have helped thousands and thousands of Louisiana families and individuals win cases, close on real estate deals, and regain that peace of mind. Their lawyers over at the Drake Williams Law Firm, Ernie Drake III, Ryan J. Williams, and Summer Vignair, are very determined, compassionate, and dedicated to their craft. It's the Drake Williams Law Firm, drakewilliamslawfirm.com. Give them a call today at 985-386-7600. Tell them your good friend Blake Ruffino at AYS sent you on by.
J&J has protected Louisiana homes and businesses for over 60 years.
Call him today, make the pests go away. J&J Exterminating. Yeah.
Ruffino and Joe Show is brought to you by Home Field Apparel, which is the best, without a doubt, premium collegiate apparel brand that is out there. They have over 150 different colleges that you can choose from, whether you're an Illinois fan or a Rutgers fan, maybe you're an LSU fan like Blake, or maybe you're an Alabama fan, whatever it is, even Idaho. They have so many different designs for so many different football programs that I can guarantee you're going to find some great stuff to help root for your favorite team. I've already gotten my Notre Dame stuff. Blake has his LSU stuff. Make sure you head on over to homefieldapparel.com to check out your team's collection of clothing apparel that they have on the website. And when you do so, when you check out, make sure you use promo code RuffinoJoe to get 15% off your order. That is RUFFINO, Ruffino Joe. Head on over to homefieldapparel.com and get your college gear today.
I thought this was a good question inside of the chat. Brandon Reese says, ask Blake what happens if Bo Davis gets all three. Give him all of the bonus money he would make for this year. And even though he didn't hit any of his accomplishments, just give it to him. All right. Let me wrap up the show by saying this. I feel like Jay Johnson is a little bit more energetic. I can tell it in his voice. I can tell in his press conference. Now, it does come up because he got a win against UNO. But I also think it comes because he's out of the gauntlet in SEC play, and he knows it. I feel for Jay. I hurt for Jay because he hates losing more than I feel like he likes to win. And look, we'll talk about baseball at length tomorrow, but Jay Johnson in the press conference today just seemed a little bit like he was able to take a massive exhale. Got a tough road ahead of him. Can he figure it out? That will be the ultimate question. All right. Got to get out of here. We will see y'all tomorrow, man. Y'all have a good day. Peace. Or have a good night, I should say. Peace.